Opportunity for citizens to speak. Is there anyone in the gallery that would like to address the committee? Seeing none, I will move on. For minute approval, would be for the January 2nd, 2018 meeting. Would be looking for a motion.
I'll second.
Alrighty, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? 4-0. Next up would be our Bright Lights presentation, which we always look forward to here.
Good
Take it
evening.
away, Mr. Cook.
Yeah, tonight we have a team from Blair here. I'll let them introduce themselves to present to us on Playworks and the positive impact it's having at Blair.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Hi.
Thank you for having us. We are super excited to be here to share all the wonderful and positive things going on at Blair with Playworks. So we are happy to see you. Oh, we're getting there. I want to start off by introducing the amazing junior coaches that we have here today with us.
Hello, my name is Shayla Martinez. I've been coaching for 2 years already, and I'm excited to tell you more about the Playworks.
Hi, my name is Ariana James, and I've been coaching for 2 years, and I am excited to tell you more about Playworks.
Hi, my name is Brandon Bravo, and I'm in 5th grade, and I've been coaching for 2 years.
Hi, my name is Adriel, and this is my first year, my full first year coaching.
And also followed by that is our amazing recess coaches.
Hi, my name is Diana Peters, and I'm a recess coach at Blair, and I've been there for 3 years.
Hi, I'm Michelle Horrenda, and I am also a recess coach at Blair, and I've been there for 12 years.
And then behind us, we also have PJ, Maddie, and Coach Jenna with us representing Playworks. I wanted to frame why we're here today. So wanting to share the what of what we're going to present is highlighting the amazing things going on at Blair with Playworks. Why do we want to share this with you? To showcase the positive, respectful, and fun recess environment we have been able to create at Blair. And then the how we're going to do this is sharing experiences with our scholars here and data to demonstrate the impact it's had at Blair scholars and teachers. And then our success criteria in order for us to see if we're being successful is decreasing the number of referrals on the playground and in classroom in order to maximize instructional time.
Well, at Blair, we are setting expectations the Playworks way every day. And as recess coach, I've had the privilege to work with Playworks. And in that role, the recess team and I have gone above and beyond to ensure the success of Playworks at Blair, making recess positive, respectful, safe, inclusive, and fun. So to help with this, here are a couple of examples that did not exist before Playworks. So now this is after Playworks. We have a recess easel that before the scholars go outside to recess, they stop at the door to check what is new on this recess easel. The information on the boards help us to set some clear expectations regarding the safe play for recess that day. We also have a Playworks bulletin board, and on that bulletin board we have information for both junior coaches and staff regarding schedules and games of the month and meeting expectations. What we're excited about to introduce this year is the Recess Rocks Positive. So now this positive is new, and it's there to encourage the scholars to show the Blair way. And it's given out only during recess. And what's great about this positive is that it's adult to scholar or junior coaches to scholar. So it really helps to reinforce the positive behaviors that we are seeing every day outside at recess.
So as an example to that, Diane, I'm going to jump in, is when scholars see somebody else being respectful or participating in a kind way, the scholars are able to give another scholar a positive and appreciating their positive behavior.
And once a month, we draw names in the lunchroom, and we recognize these students that have had a positive impact, whether it's through mutual respect or attentive listening, appreciation, or participation. One thing I love about being at Blair is the growth mindset that we have, because we are always continuing to improve on things. And these are just a few examples of that. Next. Of course, Playworks wouldn't be Playworks without our awesome junior coaches who are sitting here. Some of them. We have 19 this year. We have 19 junior coaches participating in this leadership program at Blair. Junior coaches, which I have had the joy to work with over the last couple of years, show leadership skills and engagement with other scholars while they're having fun and playing during outside recess and, the next slide, during indoor recess as well. And they are awesome. They're motivated, responsible scholars, okay, who through effective communication are able to lead games. They're able to resolve conflicts, whether it's Rochambeau, right? And they lead the game safe, make it safe, inclusive, and fun for the scholars out there, for the younger scholars out there at recess. So they do an awesome job. And I'm going to go ahead and we're going to hear from them today.
So I prepared a couple questions that I wanted the scholars to share with you to get a better understanding of their thought behind Playworks. So starting with Brandon. Brandon, what was recess like before having Playworks?
Recess was very chaotic. We've had many problems and many issues. There was a lot of fighting, and not many kids were having fun.
I want to add to Brandon that a lot of people, they weren't taking control of the recess kids, and like no one was resolving problems.
Brandon, on the other note, what is recess like now with Playworks?
Recess has way less problems. Many kids are having more fun, and it's easier to control conflicts.
Now it's Playworks now is peaceful, and they're resolving problems without junior coaches or teachers telling them to.
Ariana, what is your job as a junior coach?
To have fun and take a responsibility.
Our job as junior coaches is to decrease conflicts and to I forgot. Sorry. Getting people to getting little kids to respect you as they respect the teachers.
Well, it's hard for them to maintain at a level of 0, and getting them to line up, listen to directions, and get them in quickly.
Shayla, what do you like most about being a junior coach?
What I like most about being a junior coach is how they, when they see me inviting friends over to play a game, they do the same thing with their friends.
Brandon, I have a question for you. Typically, you work with younger scholars as a junior coach. Has that changed your interaction with your own peers?
Yes, because myself, I've been to the office before, and This actually has helped me reflect on my decisions and make them better.
And my last question for all of you to answer quickly. How do you see being a junior coach helping you be a leader in your future?
In a few years, we'll be in high school, and in those years in high school, we can look back at what we've done in as a role model in elementary school.
I think that, well, like Shayla said, like we're gonna be like in high school, but I think that it. I've seen kids like two kids were fighting, like arguing, and one kid came in and stopped it. And I was thinking, because if little kids can stop their own problems, I'm thinking that I can stop my own problems here and at home, and I bet you mom would like that too. And I know that if someone can stop a problem, that means I can stop a problem.
This helps me be a better leader in the future because being a junior coach helps us be responsible and be a role model, and being a leader, that's what being a leader is all about.
It helps us because while being junior coaches, we learn to be responsible and take care of other people. And doing that in other years, like for example in middle school, new opportunities are going to pop up.
Okay, well, we've entitled this slide Adult Supervisors or Super Players, because before Playworks, up in the corner, the right-hand corner, you'll see a supervisor just standing there watching everybody on the tot lot, we call it. And that's where most of our kids all played at that time, was on the tot lot. And so we did have a lot of accidents and things like that, because that's where the concentration of our kids were. After Playworks, if you look at the rest of the pictures, you'll see we have basketball going, we have running lanes going, we have soccer going, and the kids are spread out all over the playground right now. And what's even more exciting for me, being there 13 years now, is if you look in every one of those pictures, you'll see adults playing with all the kids. And that's happening every day, all the time at Blair. The teachers are engaged with the scholars. We're out there having fun. That means the kids are having fun, and we have less incidences happening on the playground. We are no longer reactionary supervisors. We are now proactive super players, okay? Let's see. Some of the things on our playground environment that we want to make sure happen are being inclusive. So we said it, making sure everybody's having fun. Us supervisors are able to role model behaviors like lightning lingual, saying, nice job, high five, or attaboy, you did get them next time, things like that. We can teach while we're playing. So in a game of tag, in the past we used to have big two-handed pushes in tag. Now we have butterfly finger touches. So safety is a concern that Playworks has helped us out a lot with. So, like I said, now we are proactive staff and super players. Oh, the next one, tournament time. Once the playground is settled down and everything's running really swell, that's the time to ramp it up for us. And at Blair, we've added tournament time, and we run 2 tournaments during the year. The kids love them. Tournaments create excitement on the playground. They get scholars to new games. They create new friendships, because just today on the playground we had 2 kids playing together that have never played together before. And then they create great memories, because a lot of the tournaments we do for the 4th and 5th graders, and we do them in the spring as they're moving on to middle school. So again, tournaments creating a lot of fun. Oh, there we have the soccer.
Yeah, now that you, so I think I'm gonna skip
We have a foursquare tournament and a soccer tournament. Yeah.
So just wanted to share a little bit of the data too. On this data point, as the years go on, specifically improving our data, our behavior at recess has definitely improved. Our playground referrals is a decrease, and coming back into the classroom so scholars are ready for instruction. So in the past, as you can see, a couple of years ago, our data's been up a little bit. And even the 2016-17, we were up. And this year is the first time, third year as PlayWorks as a charm, I'm saying this year, we're definitely decreasing overall in behavior. So again, and as a result to that, is definitely maximizing instruction time in the classroom as they come back. This year compared to last year. Our yellow line is this year at the beginning of the year, just training our new teachers and getting everybody to understand how the system works, what goes in as an ODR and what doesn't. And we've been able to use the data as a trend to know exactly when we have our high points and how are we going to be proactive school-wide to make sure that the J factor is there and making sure our positive language is there as well. Take it away. One of the things that we use at Blair are our wonderful cheers. And the cheers really help us, again, get the scholars back into the class, back in for lunch quickly, safely, and in a fun manner. So they're going to
So repeat after me, cheer.
This is a repeat after me cheer.
My mom gave me a penny.
My mom gave me a penny.
So I could go to Denny's.
So I could go to Denny's.
But I don't want no Denny's.
But I don't want no Denny's.
Instead, I want some bubblegum.
Bazooka, suka, bubblegum. Bazooka, suka, bubblegum. Bazooka, suka, bubblegum.
My mom gave me a nickel.
My mom gave me a nickel.
So I could buy a pickle.
So I could buy a pickle.
But I don't want no pickle.
But I don't want no pickle.
Instead, I want some bubblegum.
Bazooka, suka, bubblegum. Bazooka, suka, bubblegum. Bazooka, suka, bubblegum.
My mom gave me a dime.
My mom gave me a dime.
So I could buy a lime.
So I could buy a lime.
But I don't want no lime.
But I don't want no lime.
Instead, I want some bubblegum.
Bazooka, suka, bubblegum. Bazooka, suka, bubblegum. Bazooka, suka, bubblegum.
My mom gave me a quarter.
My mom gave me a quarter.
So I could buy some water.
So I could buy some water.
But I don't want no water.
But I don't want no water.
Instead, I want some bubblegum.
Bazooka, suka, bubblegum. Bazooka, suka, bubblegum. Bazooka, suka, bubblegum.
Thanks for having us and enjoy Bazooka Bubblegum.
There you go, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Good.
Thank you for having us tonight, and I'm hoping that you can see how excited we are to have PlayWorks at Blair.
Mr. Baumgart.
A question to, obviously, the way I hear it, there's a lot of responsibility on the junior coaches. And I think you did say they work down a level or two, right?
Say it again?
They work down a level, they don't work for the same class?
Correct.
So 1 or 2 levels, or?
So they serve kindergarten and first grade and second and third. And they're fourth and fifth graders.
Okay, that's right.
Yep.
And how are, excuse me, how are they selected?
You want to share the process?
Well, we get together with our PlayWorks
Representative?
representative, Coach Jenna, our coaches, and our Tahare, and we sit down and the teachers, and they fill out forms about why the kids want to be a PlayWorks coach. They submit them to us. We go through the forms, and we talk about each student and what positive things they can bring to the junior coaches. And we have a really, really, really hard time picking coaches because we have to submit different criteria. We want equal amount of boys and girls. You know,
okay.
we want equal amount of fourth and fifth graders. You know, we have lots of applicants, and unfortunately, we can't take everybody. But it's really, really hard.
Just an addition that I would have for the youth here today is, I was very happy to hear you say that the recesses have improved in attitude and no reducing violence and things like that. So that's what we really want to have happen is to have a recess where they can be safe. It's a huge part of what a school board and the administration are responsible for, is seeing to it that our children are kept safe, and I think you're helping us accomplish that. So I'd like to say thank you to you.
Thank you.
Thank you again, everybody. Have a good night.
Oh, we're not done yet.
All right.
Not that easy.
That's okay. Your time frame. Go
First of
ahead.
all, to the coaches, thank you very much for your leadership and the responsibility that you've taken on to make your school a better place. It looks like things are turning around and you're doing a great job. So thank you for that. And from my experience, 30 years in education, recess is really an extension of the classroom. And so whatever you're doing outside to bring that back in to the classroom to maintain those high standards is really appreciated, I'm sure, by your teachers as well. So thank you for all your extra efforts, your hard work. And I had one question. Are you a coach for the whole year, or does it rotate by semester, or how does that work?
For me, well, depending on where we start, some kids started in the half of the year and they finished till the end of the year. But some kids do start in the beginning when they're chosen and go to the end.
So it varies. It's a big honor to be a coach and to have that responsibility at your age level. And I think it's just going to be one example of great things that are going to happen for you in the future. So thank you very much for sharing your gifts with the students and staff at Blair. Thank you.
Mrs. Reincheck?
Something you said, Michelle, when you're out there playing with them, I thought, they probably get to know you better instead of just being like, stop fighting. You're actually playing with them and they're like, wow, this teacher's really cool. I didn't know her before. She's really good at this. Or, I think it helps your relationships with them better.
But I wanted to, I'd like to tell you just a little story about that too. Today at recess, we have a new student that just started like last Friday. And I saw her standing off to the side and brought her in, because we're always building relationships at recess, always. And I brought her over, she was watching Foursquare, and I'm like, would you like to come over? Have you ever played it? She's like, yeah, kind of. I'm like, why don't you stand by me? And we stood in line, because I was playing, and I'm like, stand next to me and I'll explain the game to you as we go along. And I said, you don't have to play if you don't want to, but when you get up there, if you want to play and feel comfortable, go for it. So I went first because I was hoping me getting in the game, then I would tell the other kids, new player, let's go slow, and invite the new player in, make it easy and fun for her. And when it was her turn to come in, she had backed off. And I'm like, are you sure? And she's like, yeah, I don't want to. The person that had stood next to me in the line was a junior coach, not one of the ones that was here, but was a fourth grade junior coach, new this year. She left the line, walked over to the new person, and while I was still playing, I looked at the corner of my eye. She walked over to another Foursquare where nobody was playing, picked up a ball, and the two of them together played Foursquare till she was comfortable coming back to join the group. That, to me, is Playworks at its finest. That was our junior coaches at its finest, and I was so proud of our junior coach at that moment. And that is the culture that we're creating on a daily basis at Blair. So it was awesome.
Thank you. And then for the kids, the coaches, I see sometimes you might not see the bigger picture, but I think about you guys when you get older, the leadership that this has started already. And like if you wanted to be camp counselors, you got all the songs down. You guys are just the funnest kids. It's changing your perspective to not just think of yourself and what you want to do at recess. It's changing things for the better. I think about you guys. If you're going to be in college, you're going to be the fun ones. You're going to be the ones that are just always getting people included. Like, I think this is so good for you, and I can't wait to, have you write it down. In high school, you're going to keep portfolios of your leadership, and this started way back in elementary school. So that's great, but I have some questions for you guys. I'm going to not pronounce this very well, but is it Adriel? Okay. You said that you can decrease conflicts. How do you decrease a conflict if you see one going on?
For example, if in soccer I have seen a conflict like some people say that's a goal, no, that's not a goal. So then sometimes I don't see if it was a goal because I'm dealing with another problem. So then sometimes I just say Rochambeau, it's just like rock, paper, scissors. Or sometimes I just stop the whole game, tell them the expectations of the game, and just restart the game.
Okay. And then someone said that you've seen kids stop their own conflicts. Is that something that they would do if they're in a conflict? Let's say you're dealing with another conflict. You've got so many fires to put out on the playground. Would they just know paper, rock, scissors? Would they know some of those strategies that you know because you've taught them?
Yeah, because Coach Jenna, Maddie, they go there once a month and teach them new games, new strategies to stop those things. So then they automatically know Rochambeau, what to do if a coach or a teacher is not there.
So do you guys actually have, like, let's say once a month training sessions where they teach you the games, they give you the rules, they teach you some strategies to solve conflicts and such like that? Okay.
Yes, so Coach Jenna's with us once a month for a full week, and in that week they have their junior coach meeting after school where Coach Jenna comes in and is teaching them new games, going over expectations, and then also teaching new strategies to support the kids at recess. So, and then the powerful thing with that, with the Rochambeau, is that we start seeing it inside the school and in the classroom where teachers say, oh, they solved it on their own using the Rochambeau themselves, even in sharing in math or reading or something in regards to a book that they want or something. They just do the Rochambeau and problem solve on their own. So simple but powerful.
Well, you've made me a believer. Actually, that's one of the first things I taught my kids because I'm like, I am not the referee. I'm not getting paid. What was I going to say? Okay, so I honestly thought, why don't you just let kids play? They've been playing for years, and just let them play. Why do you need to teach them how to play? But you guys, you four, and all of you leaders have shown me that it's working, and that it's a much bigger picture than just playing. So, thank you.
Any other comments? All right, thank you very much. Fantastic presentation. Thank you. Oh, thanks. Thanks for asking.
I know you've had your ration of chocolates. Smell good.
Yeah. All righty. Moving on, we have no presentation items this evening. However, we do have one action item, which would be approval of 2017-18 overnight field trip requests. See, we have some at our desks for this evening, as well as the ones that came in our packet on Friday.
Yes, there are a handful of requests in front of you. West High School varsity cheer to the state competition in lacrosse, South High School cheerleading, state in lacrosse, South High School robotics regional in lacrosse, South High School robotics championship in Detroit, Michigan, North High School FBLA state in lacrosse, North High School FBLA national in Baltimore, West High School global citizenship club to the Dominican Republic on a service trip. And then the ones at your desk are the North High School softball tournament in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, and the Butler Middle School, Washington, D.C. 8th grade trip. As usual, Stacy has put in front of you all of the information that you would need to review. She's available for any questions if they come up, as am I.
Yes, sir.
At least just a point of information for people, at least two of these on here are based on whether or not they succeed in the competition and move forward, correctly?
Yes.
That would be the Detroit and the Baltimore?
Yes.
Yes.
Make a
Any other
motion.
questions, any comments? Okay, that'd be great.
I will move for the acceptance of the overnight field trip request as presented.
Is there a second? Thank you, Mr. Dietz. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? None. 4-0 passes. Moving on, the next item on our agenda is information items. We have a presentation on Dreambox and 10 Marks update.
Yeah, this evening we have Dan Pashinsky and Rose Palmer with us to talk about 10 Marks and Dreambox, provide the board an update. And you guys can take it away when you're set.
Welcome.
It's great to be back here again to talk about our process.
Great to have you back.
On one moment as I bring up the presentation.
Okay, so we are here tonight to talk about our process that we are going through with our 10 Marks and Dreambox, looking at digital resources and what resources we'll be using to move forward with. So that is really our purpose tonight, is just kind of to inform the board about the process that we're using and what we've done up to this point. So you kind of know some of that background information when we come back again. So just so you know, if you remember 3 years ago, we were here and we had talked about digital programs that we were looking at bringing in for our math program for kindergarten through 8th grade students. At that point, we had done a review of digital programs that would help to supplement our math curriculum. And at that time, we had purchased a 3-year subscription with Dreambox for our K-3 students and then 10 Marks for our 3rd through 8th grade students. And at that, as the time has gone on, each year, teachers have received professional development that they could attend, whether it was through our Summer Institute or Waukesha 1. So we've been implementing these programs. Because we're getting to the end of the 3-year subscription, we now need to look again as to where we're moving forward. And so that's really has been the part of our curriculum review process. So during the past year, we've really started to survey our teachers to find out how are they using 10 Marks and Dreambox, how has that worked with their students, how has it worked with their curriculum, you know, in supplementing their curriculum. And so we have gathered that data. Dan and I also have looked at 17 different digital programs. 3 years ago, there weren't a lot of digital programs out there that were well known. And as technology has continued to grow in our world, so has the use of programs. So we personally have looked through 17 of the digital programs. We've narrowed it down to 4 based on our criteria that we'll talk about in a little bit as far as our math vision. And so what we've done is with those 4 programs, we've then conducted a review day last Monday, where we brought teachers in to look at 4 programs in particular, looking at our Dreambox and our 10 Marks that we're currently using, and then 2 other programs, one called ST Math and one called Front Row, and brought this forward to our teachers to look at the programs more carefully to see if there's one that better matches our needs now or that they feel would work better in their classrooms. And so today we're going to we shared the process with our district curriculum council, got some input from parents. And tonight like I said, we're going to share this process with you, and then we'll be coming back to share what's next steps. So as we go on, we'll talk through this review process.
During our teacher review day, we had a variety of stakeholders, and that was specifically designed to make sure that we had viewpoints from all across our district. So we targeted getting teachers from our dual language programs, all grade levels K through 8, special education teachers, and even teachers from our eAchieve virtual online environment. We really want to listen to all their perspectives and gather as much information as possible from our teachers to get their perspective so we truly know how they feel and what they feel is best for student learning. In addition to teachers, we had the ability to also have our math coaches available that day, coordinators, and some of our technology experts throughout the district.
One of the things too, we also looked at getting representation from our various buildings, as well as all grade levels were represented K-8, so that we could hear again that voice from all of our teachers that were impacted by our program.
The participants that day, their major role was to provide us with as much information as possible. We had to remind them to be open-minded and to consider all perspectives. We did bring back Dreambox and 10 Marks to look at again. So we have teachers who have used those over the last 3 years and may have developed a real liking towards those programs. So we talked about let's be open-minded to all possibilities so that we could really choose something that's best for all of our students at particular grade levels. We reviewed all 4 programs, and we had our teachers analyze what was going to be the best fit according to our vision of the mathematics program.
So the parts that we had our teachers look for were part of our criteria. It was attached in your board teaching and learning packets, and so you can look at that. The first part we had was our math vision. That is the one thing that Dan and I created when we came together as a K-12 math, pre-K-12 math department, was looking at what was guiding our decisions. So first thing, the math vision helped us to narrow down those 17 programs to the 4, which ones really fit with our vision moving forward. The other parts then were criteria, are pieces that we looked at in evaluating that digital online resource. How did it fit with rigor? Was it getting kids to make sense of the math, the vocabulary, looking at the Spanish component, the language that was used, was it accessible for all students? And then you can see other criteria that was there. So we had our teachers look at each of these areas, and you can see the criteria there that are in your packet, and they filled out for each of the 4 programs, how did they rate, ranking it from a 1 to a 4, 4 being the highest, as far as each of those criteria. Now we're in the process of evaluating and looking through that criteria to see what our next steps are, what's the data showing us. And so we wanted to really look at now is, some people might say it was a 4, some might say it's a 3, but which programs did they rank as the highest, which programs did they rank as the lowest in each of these areas. So moving forward, we're going to continue to analyze this information that we've gathered from the surveys, from the review data, from the review day, from tonight, even with working with our parents, and decide what's the data from the programs themselves as far as effectiveness, because we can get data from 10 Marks, we can get data from Dreambox, and how has that helped our students to grow, as well as looking at data from other districts that might be using the ST Math in the front row, and really consider all of that comparison data. So like I said at the beginning, tonight it was really about sharing with you the process we're going through. Next month, we'll be back here to talk about what's the data, and then what's that lead us to as far as a recommendation to share with the board at that time.
Baumgart.
I appreciate you sending this along with us. I appreciate getting that. A couple questions on the 2 new ones, ST Math and Front Row. Are those grade specific like Dreambox and were?
So with all of the programs, they really extend from kindergarten up to 8th grade or into high school. So that's why we asked our teachers to be open-minded, because we could decide which ones would go where. The ST Math is more of like a Dreambox in that it's more visual and not as language-based as what Front Row and 10 Marks are. And so we wanted to find comparable programs so that it really gave opportunities for our teachers to really evaluate what each program brought to the table and what it could do for our students.
Now, one of the issues you have to deal with here, of course, as you've already mentioned, we have teachers are familiar with Dreambox and 10 Marks. And how much information did they get on the other 2 so that they can evaluate between a 1 and a 4 as compared to Dreambox and 10 Marks?
Yeah. So previous to our one day that we had to spend with these teachers, they had opportunities to get in beforehand. We had sandbox accounts set up for all the new programs, as well as 10 Marks and Dreambox, just in case their grade level didn't have that tool, so that they could really prep for the day moving forward and really make a good judgment based off of that day plus the week or two.
So they got to play with it,
And
so
they
to
still
speak.
and they still have that sandbox opened up that they can utilize and play with still right now.
Okay, thank you.
Dietz.
First of all, I want to thank you for your leadership at the pre-K through K, or through 12th grade level. I think you guys do just an amazing job of being thorough and extensive and data-driven decision-making, so thank you for that. And thank you for the input that you've gotten. It looks like you're well on your way to making really high-quality decisions for the kids and staff of this district. I appreciate that, so thank you.
Anything else? Is this web-based? Are all 4 of these web-based, or is it something we have to store on our servers?
They're all web-based, a combination of web-based and app-based, so nothing to store on our servers for any of these programs.
Excellent. And then the data that we can glean data from all 4 of these? All 4 of them will collect data that we can mine?
So we'll have data to bring back, we'll have data about what the teachers thought about it.
Okay.
So we'll share the teacher perspective
Right.
in looking at these. The other data that we can bring back for 10 Marks and Dreambox is our actual student data.
Okay.
But we can also look at the data, because all programs have their own research base as to
Right.
what they can bring. So we can share those as well as we move into the next process, and as we narrow it down, we can decide which data would be important to share back.
So so say that we go with ST and Front Row, we would be able to get data about our students from both those programs
Okay.
as well?
Yes, I understand. Yes, all 4 programs really are great at providing teachers with information about what students are doing on those programs,
Okay.
and then allowing teachers to differentiate within those programs for what the students are doing. They all offer an opportunity to help guide, like even small guided groups. So what am I doing in my classrooms? Because they're meant to supplement what's happening in the classroom, not to replace it.
Right.
And so they get information so that they can see which students might need more support in the area or which ones might need something to be extended. And so all programs will give that information to us at a building level, but also for us at a district
Oh,
level.
excellent. Thank you very much. Anything else? No? Great. Looks good. We look forward to seeing you next month.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you very much. Alrighty, our next information item would be our alternative education program update.
Thank you. I'm going to be asking Luke to join me up here. We, as you know, we've provided updates on alt-ed at-risk services in the Waukesha schools. Each year, those programs are evaluated based off of space, based off of what the need is. It's been a very student need-driven program. This year, we've had a number of conversations with Tiara Chambers, the principal at East, as well as a number of the staff members there in and around the number of students, particularly in the senior level programs. And you'll look at the document that we provided, and you'll see that there are 82 students in the senior level programs there, with another 40 in the junior program and a number 18 students in the sophomore program. When you look at that number, that's a lot of kids to try to intervene with at what is the end of the road for their high school education. So this year, Luke and I convened a meeting with high school principals, with a high school counselor, and with Tiara to begin to look at, like, where is this problem stemming from? And we met with this staff, this team, on December 6th. That was the final meeting as we were getting ready to make a decision. And we found that there were 233 Fs being earned in the freshman class at that point in time. And then at that point, there were 419 Fs being earned in the sophomore class. So those were either Fs that had been on the transcript or were in progress for the sophomores. And if you look down there, we approximated that was from 70 freshmen and 170 sophomores district-wide. This is becoming a situation where these numbers are growing each year, and we've come to a decision point in and around what we're going to do to serve at-risk credit deficient students, and that decision is to move some FTE back to the home high school. Our model has been to wait until they're a junior or senior. We do catch some kids as sophomores, and you can see that reported there, but we're waiting until the junior and senior year, and that's traditionally been it. We've got phenomenal staff at East that do a great job of getting kids caught up, but we're at a point right now where we have to intervene early. And so the intention and our plan going forward is to look at that semester grade for freshmen. And if you are credit deficient at that point, meaning you failed math, science, social studies, English, one of those required areas, you're going to be put in credit recovery the moment that you have failed. So we're going to be staffing the home high schools with an at-risk teacher. It's not going to be an addition. We're going to be reallocating staff in the district to do this so that we can catch those kids earlier. So that as the kids move through the system, and I'm not saying that we're not going to have kids who are going to need a competency-based program or additional credit support in their junior or senior year, but we're really able to get those kids caught up the minute that they fall behind. And that's what our intention is into the future. We wanted to bring that to you as information so that the committee is aware, but that's a shift that we feel we need to make.
Granchek.
Happening somewhere else, or, I mean, the model that you're considering
Honestly,
it's successful?
Honestly, the model that we have in Waukesha is the rarity. Most districts have in their own high schools a credit recovery system. In my prior districts, we had credit recovery at the high school level that did focus on catching kids the minute that they were behind. And yes, they were very successful to the point. And Luke and I, we were in a conversation with a number of other administrators who work in southeastern Wisconsin, and not many places offer a competency diploma. But what we're seeing is more and more kids are opting towards that competency track. And that's the part that was a little bit more concerning to us. So we want to catch those kids in a credit-based program earlier so that they can maintain that track through, south, north, or west high schools.
I would add to that was one of the main areas that I noticed too, is just competency programs filled up fairly quickly, and then there was a waiting list for those. And in fact, that there's almost 40 students in there, and then we also have a competency-based program on eAchieve that's capped out already at 30, and then we have a South competency program for special education students that also is full at 18. So it points all to the need of more earlier intervention for recouping some of these credits, and so they're not tracked into a competency-based diploma or program their senior year.
We also see this as, I don't want to say this is a first step, because Harvey Phillip and then East has been very successful at catching juniors and seniors. We see this as a second step towards addressing this credit deficiency. The third step is by the time kids are in high school, a lot of them have established their study behaviors, their motivation towards school. We do see in the future a need to begin to address this again at the middle level, and it's not a new idea in Waukesha. We used to have middle school at-risk alternative servicing, and we see that is a possible direction that we need to move back to meet the needs of the kids in our district.
Do we have no at-risk services for middle schoolers right now?
We do not have the same level of at-risk service that we had. We do identify kids down to 5th grade. So if you remember back to the presentation where we talked about the state statute, the qualifications for at-risk, we have that program, we have that established. We have the connection being made this year as early as 5th grade. So 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, where we're doing extra work to reach out to the family, working with the student on how they're going to develop their skills, and particularly in reading and math, literacy, how we're going to try to re-engage them in school. But that at-risk safe place that used to exist is not there. We're seeing that being a need that we're trying to address now in 9th and 10th grade, and I would see that is something that is on the horizon in the next couple of years to go back into the middle schools.
Mr. Baumgart.
Joe, probably two different things here. One of which we've talked for a number of years about the fact we have to be more proactive and reactive on issues like this and try and get the kids earlier rather than waiting till they're seniors and falling off the cliff, so to speak. So I see that as definitely part of what your purposes are here. One thing I don't know if I got this clear up here in the head was, as you begin to move at the freshman and sophomore level back into the high school in terms of where they're going to get some help with the the FTEs have been created over there, will we have fewer kids at East?
In the future, yes. Going into next school year, the kids that would be the kids that may be relocated would be the sophomores. You know, they may be funneled back to their home high school. Next year is going to be a growing year around this. So we're going to have to look at services. We're going to have to look at how kids are scheduled and programmed, because sometimes the afternoon, for instance, at East would fill up before the morning would. The kids are going to have to fit into when those offerings exist at East next year. But we do see that through earlier intervention, there is going to be a need for fewer staff at East. Fewer sections at East, fewer students going there. The idea of the staffing then would be where are we providing that service, and that may then be a relocation, again, of additional staff to the home high school to try to capture this. If you look at it, we're looking at 3 FTEs spread across our schools. There may be a greater need at our high schools. That might be 0.5 at one school, 1.5 at another school. We're waiting until the end of the school year to truly see where those grades, those Fs fall. But that sophomore class was a pretty good indicator that we have a need that we need to address at our home high schools. And to do so in a formal way. I mean, many of our schools have provided some level of credit recovery, but they're doing everything that they can with the FTE that they've been allocated, and it's evident that they need a little bit more support.
Ryan, check.
So, first in our middle schools, let's say a student earns 1, 2, 3, however many Fs or zeros. They're recommended to have to take summer school and try to catch up, but they're really not up to their grade level in these areas, but we still pass them. They don't flunk or fail. They don't redo a grade anymore. They're moving on, but they really don't have that foundation.
So you've heard, and so yes to that. You've heard us do presentations on, you've probably heard John Hattie's name mentioned. He's a researcher, done a lot of studies on a lot of educational stuff. And when you look at different types of interventions and different types of factors that build into an education, you mentioned retention. That actually has a negative impact on the student's education. I mean, it regresses them. It increases their likelihood that they're not going to graduate from high school. So the idea of retention as a means to try to address this, it has proved to be very unsuccessful and actually detrimental to the student. So yes, the kids do move through, which is why in the future we would like to get more support at the middle level. But again, when you start looking at rolling this forward, we see a tangible need right now at our high school because we can measure number of Fs that are earned, number of credits that are missed, and then we see the evidence that these students are making it to their junior and senior year and then requiring that intervention at East.
I guess I'd like to add to that too really quick. The students that are being identified in middle school as at risk for possibly not graduating high school are also planned around, and they're expected to be going through their PST, SST processes and have a plan in place to support them, whether that's through intervention or different modes of instruction. So they are identified and teamed with the parents and a team at school to help problem solve through that.
Could you tell me a little bit about the work that goes into communication from transition to like elementary to middle school to high school for kids that are struggling?
What do you mean?
If I have information as an elementary teacher, how do I share that with middle school so that they're not relearning the same?
For the at-risk procedures, that's something we're actually in middle of discussions around, but certainly we recommend that the 5th grade team, student services team that has been teaming around that student through their problem-solving teams, share that information with the receiving schools so that they know that that student's been identified the prior year.
So there's a procedure to do that, or a process that they go through. Great, thank you.
And I just would add, Sharon Thiede last year and the year prior to that, and now Luke, have been working very closely with our psychs, our social workers, our counselors, and our principals around this identification, around the communication, making sure that we are notifying parents in a timely manner. It may be disconcerting news to get when you're a 5th or a 6th grade, but the reality of it is the predictors of at risk and not graduating from high school are unfortunately, they're very clear. Without positive intervention, you're demonstrating those behaviors as a 5th grader. the DPI put a dropout early warning system together so that you could identify middle school age kids whose trajectory is towards dropout. And it's our obligation to make sure that we're intervening as soon as we can on behalf of those kids.
Anything else? I guess the most important thing is if we're identifying them in fifth grade, we're gonna definitely need to have the supports in place, because what's the use of identifying them if we're not going to follow through with?
And if you do
the help?
remember, there was a point in time where all elementary counselors were cut.
I do remember that time, unfortunately.
We have gone back to a fully staffed elementary model where there is a student services person in the building who can assist with that outreach with the family. So,
Excellent. Great. Fantastic. All righty, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great update. A lot of work. All righty, moving on, we are up to our discussion items. And we have a student achievement update, Horning Middle School.
So we have Bob Blessington with us, and Jason Gahan. Bob, the principal of Horning. Jason is serving Horning as a SAIL coach, so they're working together on the school improvement. And so I'll turn it over to them at this time.
Great.
All right, thank you for your patience.
Two.
Thank you for your patience.
Great to be here. I know all of you, but Bob Blessington, principal at Horning, proud principal at Horning Middle School, with Jason Gahan here, director of secondary special ed. Jason also serves as our SAIL coach at Horning, so he's tagging along on the presentation today. So happy to be here. Really excited to be in front of you today to share about Horning. So just a reminder, this is my 10th year in the school district Waukesha, so really I've been to, I've spent some time at the high school, the elementary, and now I'm at Horning. So really feel fortunate for the opportunity to lead and serve that community right now, and in the year and a half I've been there. So I look forward to sharing some things with you today. So I want to just give you a little bit of a snapshot of Horning, what our total enrollment looks like, which you can see up there is 739. And I wanted to give a breakdown where you see the legacy enrollment. That is our traditional comprehensive middle school, followed by our personalized learning academy flight, and then our dual language enrollment. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of a snapshot of the different programming that we have at Horning. So this is just a breakdown of when we go into demographics a little bit in terms of our student population. One thing I want to point out here on, we're fortunate to hire some new staff members in the past year. So we had, between teachers and educational assistants, we're able to bring some new people into the organization, which is exciting for me to build that team. But one of the great things, many great things about Horning, but I love is not all the students look alike. We have a lot of diversity, and I think it's just really a great learning experience to have. Just the combination of all the different students and staff, just a great place to be. So some of the student achievement I'm going to share to you today, and I really had the challenge of, I think I started at 43 slides, and that needed to come way down, so I'm not at 43 slides, so everyone can relax, Mr. Cook too, so, Dr. Cook, sorry, is the goal of our work is really improve student learning. So of all the things that we talk about in terms of the different programming, I know we had a PlayWorks presentation, we're all here to give kids the best chance of learning. And I look at, I come from the lens of, really an equity lens of, we have an opportunity to change the trajectory of a child's life by the experience that they have. So I take that responsibility pretty seriously. But again, as you look through, whatever processes or instructional strategy you're using, the goal is improve student learning. I think that's important to restate, even though all of you are well aware of that. As we look at on the board right there, you see our theory of action. And like a lot of schools, we went through an iteration of our theory of action. It was really, we pared it down from last year to this year. This is our current theory of action. I see this as a working document, but really what we're trying to cultivate at Horning is really culturally responsive practices, feedback, and professional learning communities. So those are like our three rocks that really important with. And I would say that culturally responsive lens is really important to the work that we're doing in all our schools, and particularly, since I'm at Horning, I see that as really being the driver to everything we're doing. So, a lot of the work that we're embarking the last year and a half has been around that, and really professional learning communities, and that culture of professional learning communities are a big part of improving learning outcomes for students. I wanted to just share some raw data with you. This comes to last spring. This just shows some forward exam data as it relates to last spring. So these students at Horning took this in March or April last year. So, you have the graphs in front of you. So you see the breakdown of, on the left, you see a graph of math achievement. And on the right, you see the English language arts. So that gives you a breakdown. We have some work to do. We know that. One of the things I want to point out on the next slide is just some trend data that we have. And the forward exam, as you recall, is our state assessment. This year will be the third year we have the forward coming up. So this shows data. And what our data showed us from 15-16 a couple years ago to 16-17 has been pretty flat in terms of achievement data in each of our areas. We test in English language arts and math in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and science and social studies. We also assess students in 8th grade. So those are the numbers in terms of overall performance results. This is map growth. This is a measure. This is probably the best tool we have in terms of longitudinal data in our system. When I look at reading on the left and and then math, you see on the left, you see students that percent of students exceeding typical spring map growth. And we look at our 6th graders, our 7th graders, and our 8th graders in terms of their achievements. So the green, we want students exceeding what's expected, obviously. So we have some work to do in grade 6. And when we think about that transition from 5th to 6th, you can see some of that there. But there's some celebrations as we peel back the layers of the data a little bit and look at some subgroup data, which I won't get into today. But that shows students exceeding typical growth in both of those areas.
Bob, just a quick question. What would be the definition of typical?
I believe that that would be students that with their growth, their MAP growth goal that's set aside, and that's based on how they did before, how that's determined.
So it's individual schools or students?
Yep. Those are individual students, that percentage of all the students that tested. I talk about I kind of laugh because my head is cut off in here, but the picture's not. I probably should have taken it out, but I thought it was funny.
Point that out.
We did a No Shave November. That's not really part of the presentation, but I think what the message that I want to send today is progress is always about coming together, and that's I come from a mantra of distributed leadership, and some of the work we know what the work is at Horning. I'm really invested and like I said, feel really privileged to have the opportunity to work alongside our staff and families at this. One thing I want to point out, this is a performance culture index, and it's something that we use as an internal measure. A lot of our schools have done this. So if you notice, there's about 10 different questions. I want to just highlight one of the questions on here. My school has a clear purpose and vision focused on all students learning at high levels. Before I came on, spring of 16, so before my team came on, I started in that July. The agree to strongly agree of my, was about 49%. So I'm really proud that in terms of having a vision, focus on students learning at high levels, we're able to get that level close to 84%. We've been pretty consistent, so that's grown, and kind of we do that measure 2 or 3 times per year. So that's one highlight as we're moving forward, and as student achievement data comes to light and we look at some more trend data, I think it's important, having that, without that clear purpose and vision, we're lost without that roadmap. So I feel good, we're headed in the right direction, but there's definitely some work ahead. Moving forward, I look at, we've done some visioning work with our teachers. So meaning looking at looking at the middle school experience and really defining what that looks like. And, we've had a session in December and 2 in January about looking at the structures and how we're set up and, are we best positioned to serve learners? And those are conversations we've had as a staff, and our teachers have come up with some great ideas in terms of what that experience could look like, and knowing that developing the learner and that relationship building piece is really critical. So I look at the structure, systems, and support to make that happen. I see that as really one of my pivotal roles to ensure that those structures and systems are in place. And sometimes we got to look at how we've done things to examine if they're working. And those are ongoing conversations that I'm facilitating with staff. And really, my goal at Horny is just to have a mantra of a model of continuous improvement. And really the goal is achievement for all. So try to keep it pretty simple today, but I would welcome any questions that you have.
That was the first. No
Well,
question?
I'm
No?
working on it.
Okay.
Bob, and I think you mentioned back a couple slides back about cultural experiences. And anecdotally, what would you say the culture is moving in the direction of at your school?
I think we're moving in a positive direction. I think right now we're, get an idea of what the needs are right now, and our 100-day, all the schools are working on a series of 100-day plans. I mean, really the 100-day plan we're focused on right now is to really get a sense of what that is at Horning. And, I think as, we need to adapt to the change that our students are presenting, and sometimes schools can be a little slow at that. So I think really recognizing who our students are, who are the families that we serve. So I think we're headed in the right direction. And I think, like I shared before, we had an opportunity to bring some new staff in. And, one thing I think it's really important when whatever the district or school you're at, you need to really want to be there and embrace and respect and love our students and families. And that, I think the arrows, I know the arrow is pointing in the right direction.
Also, most of what you gave us was a composite of all of your students. How's the dual language program going? And I already have a pretty strong feel for flight, but maybe there's more new stuff there. I don't know. Can you tell us a little bit about those 2 segments?
Yeah, sure. So in terms of, I'll talk about our dual language, which at Horning we call Habitat. We, I think there's some great practices that are going on right there. One of the things we're excited about, we're going to move from a one-way program to a two-way. So we'll have both native Spanish and native English speakers starting for the first time. So that's something we're really excited about. Really have a supportive team of.
I'm going to interrupt a minute.
Yeah.
They're gonna just be starting on this. These are not kids that have come through the.
No, there are students that have come through the
okay.
system.
Okay, I misunderstood you.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't explain that real clearly. So those would be that will be starting next year. In terms of flight, we are accepting 180 students. We just had our lottery yesterday, so that enrollment cap is similar to what we had this year. Our numbers are a little less than that because of some transitions. Some kids are moving out, but pretty much we're at capacity with that program right now.
Good, thank you, Bob.
Mrs. Reincheck.
I guess I'm just a little stunned that it's almost like it's bittersweet. Like here's the bad news. Now here's the good news. It's those numbers are concerning. When it shows the advanced, it's just a little sliver, and the need. But like you said, you have to identify where the need is first in order to fix it. So it's good that you've identified it, but I mean, if anyone's up for the task, it's you. I think as you move forward, it would be good to know just how you're progressing. And I don't know if we have to hear that just once a year, but even just your plan to how to address it with all of these 18 new teachers and then numbers like this, that's a big hill to climb. So I'm quiet because I'm concerned, but you're a great leader, both of you are, so I'm sure you can figure it out.
Thanks. If I can expand on that quickly, as someone who's been lucky to be a part of their SAIL or their building leadership team, as an observer coming in, and then also the opportunity to meet with Bob at least twice monthly to talk about his plans and to talk about the data and the actions and the plans moving forward, and how the staff will be involved with that, and specifically the SAIL team. I've been extremely impressed with the level of discussion that the SAIL team has had around not only the data, but then the action plan moving forward. Having the difficult conversations, putting the difficult numbers on top of the table and then talking about it, and the interaction that the data would have with daily classroom instruction and practices from administration and other leaders within the building has been a great experience. It's been great to hear, it's been great to partake in. And the excitement and the enthusiasm from the SAIL team at Horning is such that I don't often see.
Part of that culture question, I suppose. Thank you.
Anything else? Anything? Great presentation. I think that, like Mrs. Reincheck said, these numbers are alarming. However, I think it's important that we're identifying those numbers, and that goes to our conversation about identifying students that need extra support or are at risk early on. So those numbers were bad, but we're making the right steps forward to identifying and moving on, getting a plan going. Great.
Thank you.
Alrighty, that brings our meeting to a close. Our next Teaching and Learning Committee meeting will be Tuesday, March 6th, 2018, at 6 p.m. in this room. And if there's no other questions, we stand adjourned. Thank you very much.
Good. Nice job.